Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Ali, Coram, and Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, Friday, September 29th, the last day of the month, Ed, but the rally fizzled on government shutdown fears.
Yeah, it wasn't really a powerful rally to start, and it really didn't end too well today. I want to take a look at a couple stocks that sort of fizzled out with the market, Arista Networks and Meta platforms, and one that did relatively well, Zscaler.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at those three stocks, but first let's analyze the major indexes. The NASDAQ, the fizzle pretty apparent here, and some resistance at that short-term 10-day moving average, with the NASDAQ closing up just 0.1% today, but it was a mixed market. On the downside, the S&P 500 down 0.3%, while the Dow and the Russell off 0.5% each. We still are on day 3 of a rally attempt here, but clearly don't have that confirmation signal just yet that significant institutional buying has come back into the market.
Yeah, I mean, the market, on Wednesday, it found some support. The NASDAQ had undercut the August lows joining other indexes. It had undercut the 13,000 level briefly and then rose. But look, the gains were never that great. I mean, it was only on Friday morning when we sort of got to the highs today, it was like starting to say, hey, we're starting to gain momentum. Hey, some stocks are starting to really flash some buy signals, but that almost immediately faded. And so while we did close, positive, it was on the NASDAQ and down on the other indexes. It was not a great sign. Barely rose on the NASDAQ, down, I think, on the Dow and S&P 500. So, yeah, this rally attempt could still work. Not every rally attempt that works starts out great, but it was disappointing. I think we're looking ahead to, say, the government shutdown. That's almost certainly going to happen on Sunday. I mean, I don't know how the market's going to react to it. It probably isn't great, and that could be something that hangs over the market for a little while. So that's definitely a risk factor. So we haven't. Bottom line is, like, while the rally attempt is still going, we still know if this is just a short-lived bounce that we just end up falling to new lows in the near future.
Right. And we are turning the page to the month of October, which historically is a good month in terms of follow through days, but we'll have to see if we get that. Which Monday would be the first opportunity for that to potentially qualify, because it happens at the earliest on day 4 of a rally attempt. But what we're looking for, Ed, is that signal of institutional buying. And what does that mean? It means a notable gain of at least 1.2%, 1.25% on one of the major indexes, accompanied by volume heavier than the prior session. Not necessarily heavier than average volume, but heavier than the prior session. So we'll have to see how that unfolds. Again, Monday could be the earliest, but with these other factors kind of overhanging the market, that is yet to be seen when we might get that signal.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of follow through days in October. That's partly because we often hit lows in October. I mean, so it's not just there's that best of time, worst of times. So if the NASDAQ falls to 12,500, falls to the 200-day line and then bottoms,
right?
But you won't know. It's like if you're buying now in anticipation of an October rally, that would still be pretty painful, and you might get shaken out with some pretty sharp losses. So, maybe we'll get a follow through day at some point, and maybe and hopefully one that works. But yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah, the last one on 8/29, that one did not work, which is another reason why it's good to just dip your toe in the water if and when that signal happens, rather than push all your chips to the middle of the table, Ed.
That's right.
All right. Well, something else that has been an issue for the equity market, that is the 10-year yield. Here's a look at it on the weekly. So up again, so continuing to hit historic levels, backed off a little bit from its highest levels intra-week. But if you see this coming off of its lows, you have that inverse relationship. The market opens strong, this opens weak. We see the yields erase some of the losses. Equities, of course, also the government shutdown fears. But it seems like this is another factor, not that they're in lockstep, but this is an overhang here.
It definitely is, and it does show you, yeah, we're off. We came off the highs, but it was still another big week. We never even came down to the 10-day line at the lowest again. So, I mean, that's a huge uptrend, really. I mean, for the past several weeks, and honestly, yeah, all through there, there's really strong gains. It's really hard to deal with that. And yeah, and when that ends, we don't know. Hasn't ended yet.
Well, let's just briefly take a look at the other major indexes here. Similar issues for them in the rally attempt. The S&P didn't even get to its 10-day moving average. The Dow looking a little bit different here, losing support at the 200-day line this week and hitting resistance there on Friday. And here's a look at the Russell 2000, which tracks small caps, clearly still very damaged here and hitting resistance at 1800 today. We also want to take a look at some sector action. So here's a look at XLE, which tracks energy, off today by about 2%, but still, if you take a step back, in an uptrend here, Ed.
Yeah, oil prices came off their highs. They were quite a bit late in the week. So still one of the stronger sectors, but this is, again, if oil prices come down, I mean, this sector is going to come down. I just want to make one point about the Dow. It
Sure.
hit a new closing low for like 3 or 4 months. I mean, so it didn't undercut the Wednesday's lows, but that's still the worst close in basically 4 months. So, not much of a rally there.
Mm-hmm. And we want to take a look at the action for chip stocks this week, trying to find a bottom like the NASDAQ, undercut its lows from mid August, trying to turn around, but a little bit of resistance here at the 21-day line. For the week, though, breaking a 3-week losing streak and up about 2.1%.
Yeah, so that was nice. And NVIDIA bounced off of lows. So there's some positives out there. Just but obviously needs. I mean, the good stuff needs the market to get better too. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah. So are you saying the same could be said for IGV then, Ed?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing here.
Yeah. So the IGV Tech Software ETF reversing fractionally higher on the week, coming up against potential resistance at those moving averages there. Let's take a look at Arista Networks. This is ANET reversing lower on the day. So fizzling along with the broad market, but a pretty orderly pullback to some key levels and trying to get some momentum to the upside.
Yeah, you could have argued at Friday's gain, it was getting above the 21-day line. And you could say there was a downtrend, okay, here we go. And there's a lot of stocks like this. I mean, honestly, there wasn't much special. I could have picked a whole bunch of them like this today. So this one, it could still work. It didn't break through the 50-day line. It's nothing terrible. It could form a new base. But I mean, on the positive, it did, went underneath the 50-day line, but came back up during the week. The volume was a little bit higher for the week, and on some of the positive days, it was still low volume, but at least it was better than the prior week. I mean, I'm just sort of scratching around. Don't get me wrong. Arista is not a poster child for volume. I mean, at least Wednesday's gain, which that had some decent volume, the best gain in a little while. But we just need the market to get better. And I just think that these are the kind of days that it really strikes home. It's like nobody notices the market when your stock is going up 5%. And yeah, the market had a big day, but it's like it was very clear that so many stocks were moving up with the market and then came down with the market.
Yeah.
And so this one is one to watch, but it just needs the market to be on an upward trend.
It does. And same for Meta, which I think arguably is the best looking Magnificent Seven stock right now, but it reversing lower today as well. Clearly, this 300 level, a lot of trading action happening at that psychological round number. So we want to see it get a little bit of momentum from there, but also this 312 area seems like the next resistance level to the upside, which it got pretty close to today.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, basically a handle until Wednesday, but Wednesday was somewhat constructive. And in fact, you could
Yeah.
argue that was when the market rally started, when the Meta bounced off its lows. That was pretty much seemed to be when the market said, okay, we're bottoming. So this is a really important stock. It may not be as important as NVIDIA, but boy, it's way up there. And so it is the best looking of the Magnificent Seven right now. Not, if it goes up, we could easily just blow through this tomorrow on Monday or Tuesday. And, it's look how that tight action. It's been tight, tight, tight for week after week. When you consider all the volatility, the relative strength line is moving up. So a lot of positives. Just need a little bit of help. But just like a parent just pushing a little bit on that little kid trying to get the momentum, on the
Yeah.
bike is like not quite there yet.
Yeah. So is this a chicken and the egg situation uh, for Meta here? Is Meta going to help fuel the market or is the market going to fuel Meta?
Yes, it's a chicken and egg situation. I don't know which one is which.
All right. Let's now take a look at Zscaler. Held up great today for the week, up 2.6%. A lot of that came from today, up 3.1%. So bouncing off of the 50-day line, had that 150 level. But to me, it still seems like it's stuck in a trading range, Ed.
Yeah, there's a few things. That's one of the issues here. Well, one is that, if this was a good day, we'd be saying, well, it came well off its highs. We wouldn't be looking at a but. 3% gain, and its true range definitely held a good chunk of its gains when a lot of other stocks gave up a lot. So definitely nice action, above average volume, breaking a trend line. The only problem with, you're right, I see that there's no real clear pattern. You'd want to get above, say, this 162, 164 area, but at that point, then you might be getting pretty high versus the 50-day line. So do you want to buy it at the top of this range or when it gets above? So it makes it a little tricky even here. This is a place where you could have thought you could
Right.
enter. I think as the market day went on, you might have said, well, maybe I don't want to get into this right now,
Mhm.
even though even though this held up well.
Right.
It just shows you, even when the best looking stocks are like, boy, I'm not sure if I want to get in. But this is a strong sector. It has, its earnings estimates are coming up. I know the group is 60, but there were some other names in this that were seem to be coming up in the last few days as well. So definitely one to watch.
Yeah, and volume coming into the stock as well after an orderly pullback. So definitely could see why this would be appealing to traders today as a potentially actionable name, Ed. And let's circle back and get your thoughts on the market. What should we do to plan for the week ahead? I think clearly we need to be focusing on those stocks that have been holding up. Maybe they aren't actionable today, but we want to focus on stocks I think that are showing that relative strength in the face of an uncertain market at this point.
Yeah, relative strength is what you're going to be looking for. Some names will be very close to buy points. Others may be building their way up, as they're coming up. And just so pay attention to them. You might have a narrow list of stocks that are close to buy areas, and then a broader list of stocks that are doing relatively well, sort of like how we with IBD Live with the ready and watch list. And then after that, have patience. You don't need to be there in the first uptick. This market hasn't proven anything. It just hasn't done it yet. Maybe it'll turn out. It just hasn't. If this rally is for real and it lasts for several weeks or months, you will have opportunities to get into stocks pretty quickly after a follow-through day. And if this market falters, you'll be pretty happy you didn't do a whole lot, during this
Mhm.
stretch. So I just wait to see if we just get a little bit more
Right.
strength and conviction before putting a lot of money in.
Yeah, I think mindset is key right now because you're totally right, Ed. We don't want to jump the gun here. We need to have that patience, but we also don't want to be complacent either. Oh, well, the market isn't doing good. We've got all these issues, whether it's interest rates or the government shutdown. I mean, there's so many reasons out there to be bearish, but it's why mindset, we've got to stay sharp, I think. And so there's like a delicate balance there of being ready, but not being too eager.
That's exactly right. Have to be flexible. And I'm reminded of, I think it was the 2003, bull market started, I think, as the guns started blazing in the Iraq war. You wouldn't think, oh, war's happening. Great. Let's have a rally. So you don't know. You can look at it and say, boy, that could be a bad news, but you just have to just wait and don't try to guess where the market's going to be. Interpret it. Just be ready. Be ready and flexible. And that's the best way
Mhm.
to go into next week.
Yeah, and we have our levels to watch on the upside and the downside that can help further shape how we wanna be positioned in this market, and so when those levels get triggered, we will be ready to act, how we need to respond appropriately to that. Thank you so much, Ed, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be back with more on IBD Live Monday morning, and we hope you join us, investors.com/IBD Live, for all the details on that. We will see you there. Hope everyone has a great weekend. See you Monday.